Yes, my friends, things are getting really interesting in Baltimore, and we need to talk about something that has Ravens fans buzzing. We all know that winning a Super Bowl takes more than just having an elite quarterback. You also need players around him who are willing to outwork everyone else. And based on what Lamar Jackson just revealed, one of the biggest stars on this offense might be getting ready for the best season of his career. I truly want to see the Baltimore Ravens hoist the Lombardi Trophy. Honestly, I believe this team has everything it takes to get there. But now I want to hear from you. Do you believe Zay Flowers is ready to break out and establish himself as one of the best wide receivers in the NFL? Or do you think there's still another step he needs to take before reaching that level? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you've been a Baltimore Ravens fan for more than 15 years, hit that like button as hard as you can. If possible, also comment, "Go Ravens! Let's go to the Super Bowl!" Alright, now let's talk about Lamar Jackson's comments and why he believes Zay Flowers could be on the verge of a truly monstrous season. One of the biggest stories surrounding the Ravens heading into training camp isn't just about schemes, new coaches, or roster battles. It's about the mindset inside the locker room. And nobody explained that mindset better than Lamar Jackson himself when he spoke about Zay Flowers. What stood out wasn't simply that Lamar believes in his wide receiver. We've heard quarterbacks praise teammates before. What made this different was the amount of detail Lamar shared about what happens behind the scenes, long before game day ever arrives. According to Lamar, Zay Flowers has been exactly the same player ever since arriving in Baltimore. He said Zay only knows one thing: work. Not occasionally. Not only during training camp. Every single day. Lamar described Zay as someone who is constantly working, constantly grinding, constantly looking for ways to improve. He even laughed while explaining that Zay is working so often that he finds himself asking, "When are you going to take a break?" The answer surprised him. Sunday. But even then, Lamar joked that Zay is back working again immediately afterward. That tells you everything you need to know about the kind of mentality Zay Flowers has developed. This isn't someone relying purely on natural talent. This is someone trying to maximize every opportunity through preparation. Lamar even shared a personal story that paints an even clearer picture. During the offseason, Zay was pushing Lamar to wake up at 5 in the morning for workouts. Lamar admitted he normally preferred working out later, around 9, but Zay kept calling him early. Sometimes multiple times. Lamar joked that he would miss the calls because he was still asleep after previous workouts, but the story wasn't really about the alarm clock. It was about the standards Zay sets for himself every single day. Think about that for a second. The franchise quarterback is talking about a young receiver pushing him to train earlier. That's leadership through actions, not speeches. That's someone setting an example simply by showing up and putting in the work. Lamar clearly appreciates it. Throughout the conversation, he kept returning to one theme: Zay's work ethic is different. He described it as being on another level. He repeatedly emphasized that this relentless approach is exactly why he believes Zay can take another major step this season. In fact, Lamar went even further. He said he believes Zay Flowers can have a monstrous season. Not just a good season. Not simply another year of improvement. A monstrous season. He even mentioned hoping it becomes a record-breaking year. Those are incredibly high expectations coming directly from the most important player on the roster. Of course, Lamar wasn't guaranteeing records. He wasn't making promises. But what he was doing was explaining why he has so much confidence. In his eyes, everything starts with preparation. Talent matters. Intelligence matters. But if you combine those qualities with an elite work ethic, the ceiling becomes much higher. Another interesting detail Lamar shared involved off-season boxing workouts. He explained that boxing became part of their training because of the conditioning benefits. According to Lamar, those sessions worked nearly every muscle while providing excellent cardio. More importantly, those workouts became another opportunity for teammates to push each other. It's easy to focus on touchdowns during the season, but these relationships are often built months earlier during workouts like these. The chemistry between Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers doesn't suddenly appear on Sundays. It's built during mornings when most people are still asleep. It's built through extra workouts. It's built through trust. That trust continues to grow because Lamar consistently defends Zay whenever his name comes up. Throughout the offseason, Lamar has shown complete confidence in him. Listening to the quarterback speak, it's obvious he believes Zay is one of the biggest reasons this offense can reach another level. And when you think about how defenses prepare for Baltimore, that belief starts making even more sense. Every defense already has to account for Lamar Jackson. Every defense has to respect the running game. If Zay Flowers continues developing exactly as Lamar expects, opposing defenses will have another major problem to solve. That's what makes his role so important. When defenses dedicate extra attention to Zay, opportunities naturally open elsewhere. Other receivers find more favorable matchups. Tight ends gain more space. The entire offense becomes more difficult to defend because attention cannot be focused in only one direction. That's why Lamar's comments matter beyond simply praising a teammate. He's describing a player whose development could influence the entire offense. Perhaps the most encouraging part for Ravens fans is that this improvement isn't being driven by outside expectations. It's coming from internal motivation. Nobody needs to remind Zay Flowers to work harder. According to Lamar, that's simply who he is. And that attitude appears to fit perfectly with the message being emphasized throughout the organization. Preparation, responsibility, improvement. Those themes continue showing up every time Ravens players speak publicly. As training camp begins, that mindset becomes even more important because off-season optimism eventually has to translate into performance on the field. While Lamar's comments focused heavily on Zay Flowers, another important storyline came from Ronnie Stanley discussing the offensive line. Stanley acknowledged that last year's unit showed flashes of playing at a high level but admitted consistency was missing throughout the season. That's an honest assessment. There were moments when the offensive line controlled games, but maintaining that level every week proved difficult. Stanley believes consistency must become the priority moving forward. For Ravens fans, that's encouraging because recognizing the problem is the first step toward fixing it. Stanley also expressed confidence in the coaching staff. He praised defensive line coach Dwayne Ledford, explaining that Ledford has done an excellent job connecting with players both as football players and as people. Stanley highlighted not only the coaching techniques being taught but also the overall approach and communication inside the room. That relationship matters. Players respond differently when coaches invest in them beyond simply correcting mistakes. Stanley suggested that's exactly what's happening. He also had positive things to say about teammates on the offensive line. Speaking about John Simpson, Stanley praised both his personality and his energy, describing him as someone who consistently brings positivity every day. That kind of presence can become valuable over the course of a long NFL season. Even more interesting were Stanley's comments regarding rookie Emory Jones Jr.'s fellow young lineman competition. Actually, Stanley specifically praised the young offensive lineman discussed during media availability, saying he already looks like a seasoned veteran and approaches everything professionally. Stanley made it clear he isn't worried because he sees someone completely focused on business from the moment he arrives. Those comments reflect confidence inside the locker room. Veteran approval isn't handed out easily. When experienced players openly praise younger teammates for their professionalism before meaningful games have even been played, that's a positive sign for the future. Another recurring theme from Stanley's press conference centered around belief. He spoke about the positive mentality being established by the coaching staff and the